And we are live in 5, 4, 3.
And we are back, folks, here on the Michigan Insider on the Big 1050 WTKA, online at the big1050.com. Sam Webb, Mr. Ira Weintraub on the other side, and joining me as they do every single Thursday, 9 o'clock hour here on the Big 1050, the MGoBlog Roundtable. And it is Michigan State. This is what we've been waiting for. I mean, it's actually shaped up better than I kind of wanted it to. I was rooting for Purdue. Damn it. I wanted Purdue as much as I am looking forward to this game. I actually wanted it to be not quite this good. I wanted Purdue to go up to Michigan State and smack them, fellas. They weren't quite able to pull it out, though, as the Spartans came out victorious the other night. They got it done. And it's set up for the biggest clash in this affair since, what would we say, year one of Juwan? I can't quite remember the circumstances of those games, but I would say this is the biggest since that. Seth Fisher and Craig Ross, how are you guys doing this morning?
Well, other than my broken shoulder, I'm fine. That's
what did you do, Seth? What did you do?
I went skiing on 19-year-old boots. So if your boots are more than 10 years old, go get them replaced, please. Because when those things go, yeah.
Or better yet, as you age, don't ski.
No, I'm not giving up skiing. I love skiing with my kids and stuff. It's just, my boots were comfortable, so I kept them going. And eventually the little piece on the back broke off, and I saw it fly by my eye as I was flying through the air. And I go, well, that's not good. And then I came down on my shoulder and couldn't use my arm afterwards. So
did you know immediately it was broken?
No, I got to the ER and I thought it was dislocated or that I had like a pull, and he's like, "You fractured that."
So did you go back to skiing after you?
No.
Oh,
I skied down the hill. We went inside for a little bit, and I fashioned a sling for myself, and I actually drove home, which was painful, and don't want to remember that. Yeah.
I was about to say, good grief. Craig Ross, how are you this morning?
I'm fine. What's wrong with Brian? Do you know, Seth? You guys?
He has he is very under the weather. It has turned into the flu.
Oh boy, no fun. He's had a hard year for that.
Or something that doesn't, we don't want it to get contagious through the screen.
Yeah, he wasn't going to be 50% Brian Michigan State. If he's going to be on, he's going to give it to Michigan State. Right?
I think the Michigan State kid in his kids' class has been bringing different diseases to try them out on everybody.
So Sparty comes into this game, and they are a team that has designs on being Big Ten champs and visions on making a run, and a flawed team, though. I think this is a team whose ceiling is, if they're going to have any sort of hardware level success, is going to be in conference, fellas. Like, they are so far, they can't shoot. I mean, they just, once they make it out of league play, once they get in the NCAA tournament, this team is going to they're going to die a quick death, I believe. Well, because the rough and rugged play starts to get policed a lot more, and you got to be able to shoot the basketball enough to go on the run, and they just don't. And that gets exposed once you get in NCAA tournament play.
Yeah, you said it well. I mean, I looked just at their 3-point shooting in conference, and they're 16th in the Big Ten in conference games, which is pretty remarkable given how successful they've been overall. And they're worse than that when you look at the out-of-conference games. They're like one of the worst teams in the country at shooting the three. Let me see here. I think their number...
Are you looking for a compound number?
Yeah, it's really bad.
They are 335th. 330. Yeah. 335th. Out of 364 teams.
Yeah, so they don't shoot the three at
all.
Not
the worst.
Yeah,
they shoot 32% as a team. Now listen, there are a couple caveats here. Number one, Jeremy Fears can shoot when he does. He doesn't shoot very often. And Jace Richardson can actually shoot. He's 39%
Jason
this
Richardson
year.
is a good
Jace-
is a good shooter.
Yeah. So the reason why they look like, and Jackson Kohler's actually come around too. He's shooting 34% this year, and it looks decent as a big man pull-up shooter. Now, their centers can't shoot. Kohler accepted, right? And Cohen Carr can't shoot. He doesn't even bother. Trey Holloman can't shoot. We know that. We've seen that guy, brick for ages. And Jaden Akins can't shoot. That was in his scouting report when Michigan was recruiting him, right? But he's a good defensive guard. So that's the guys who can't. Frankie Fiddler career-wise has been able to shoot, and he hit some big ones against Purdue. He just hasn't played that much this year, right? They spent all that money to get him, and I know that they spent money because I know someone on Indiana staff who was like, we thought that was a big-time acquisition, and we put a big package out for him, and Michigan, he came back and he's like, you guys aren't close. So I know Michigan State thought he was going to be a major part of their rotation, and he wasn't. He was important against Purdue, and that's a 6'7" guy who can shoot and can score on his own, who was a very high usage player. Was it Nebraska? Nebraska, not the one. Nebraska Omaha, I think.
Yes.
And then you got Jace Richardson, who's a true freshman who is just getting better every game. So I think that if you saw Michigan State earlier in the season when they were playing those non-conference games, he was a true freshman. He wasn't playing very much. You know how Tom Izzo likes to have his control. Yeah. But the more they're putting the ball in Richardson's hands, the more they're getting good things out of it. He's a problem. He was a 5-star recruit. He's starting to create his own, where he was just kind of someone who got stuff off of other people's creations before. He's starting to have some assists. His assist rate is actually higher than his turnover rate now, which was not true earlier in the season. So that's made them a lot more difficult, and that's the reason why they're in contention for the Big Ten championship.
Well, yeah, I also think they're, even by Izzo standards, incredibly physical. And, I mean, this is a really physical, rough team. And, so is Purdue, but they just blitz Purdue with their physicality and their, and Braden Smith is not a turnover guard. Well, on the ball screens, they just blitzed him. He had 6 turnovers. And for Braden Smith, I don't know if he's ever had 6 turnovers in his career. And so Trey in particular, is going to see this. Michigan State is going to come after him. They're going to double him. And so we'll see. I have to say, I hate saying this, but I thought Izzo did a really good coaching job against Purdue. And I've almost never said I thought Izzo did a good coaching job, but boy, I think he did against Purdue, and I think he's doing a pretty good job overall with this particular team. They're not obsessing with the 3. They're shooting mid-range 2s, and they can make them. They're getting to the back. How many dunks? Did you see the Purdue game? How many dunks?
It was 9 dunks or something. Yeah.
It was like it was unbelievable off of, rolls, big guys to the basket, and they were just lob dunk. I mean, it was impressive.
They had such a great plan. So what they took Braden Smith completely out of the game, and they did that in a way that only Michigan State can do, because they can just keep throwing guards at you, right? Jaden Akins is a fantastic defensive player. Jeremy Fear is a 5-star. Jace Richardson's a 5-star. Trey Holloman doesn't have that athleticism, but he's got a chest, right? So those guys are, and Cohen Carr is just
he's a phenomenal athlete.
Yeah, huge size, another 5-star player. And like when they have Xavier Booker out there, he can guard 5 out too. So they have a lot of defenders who can switch. And so that's what they were doing, just having, wherever Braden Smith went, there was just another defensive guard on him. There was no way for him to get past it. So what he had to do was go all the way down to like Simon Zapala or Jackson Kohler, down on the on the block, and then pass it out to the wings. Then they would get a shot out in the wings, and sometimes Purdue would score out there. But if they didn't, or if they didn't get the shot off or something, or even when they did get the shot off, the rebound caroms forward, and State was running on that. So I thought it was a fantastic game plan, is to get Purdue locked down low, right? You got your wing in the corner, you got your guard down underneath the basket, and then they run out on that. and it was just a brilliant game plan. And Purdue, they couldn't get out of it because it was still happening to them in the second half. And then the physicality you talk about, Trey Kaufman-Renn was in foul trouble all game. And that was the Breslin effect. I thought Michigan State got the benefit of a lot of calls in this game, and they got
He
a lot of
balled out. He said that, man, I didn't get the memo. Listen, let me give that man his respect, because I did not get the memo on Trey Kaufman-Renn. And he has been a beast in Big Ten play. Because he still, the only thing that stopped him was the referees, because it wasn't Michigan State. But listen, you guys absolutely nailed the key to this game for Michigan. Don't turn the basketball over.
Yeah.
Easier said than done. Don't be the turnover department. There's a message in this hat. Don't be this. Don't be the turnover department.
Our radio listeners, Sam Webb is wearing a turnover department hat.
That is right. That is right. Don't be the turnover department. The magic number in this game for Michigan is 12. Be under 12 turnovers in this game. Purdue had 12 turnovers. That's I'm not just pulling it up because Purdue had 12 turnovers, but I went back and looked at the number of turnovers in Michigan State's losses, and all the teams that Michigan State lost to had under that number. You cannot have live ball turnovers on this team. You're letting them off the hook. You're playing into their running game. And Michigan has done a much better job of taking care of the basketball, but this has been a frequent issue for them this season. And against this team especially, this is one of those issues that if it rears its ugly head, it will be the most problematic that it's been for them this season. So you got to take care of the basketball against this squad. If you do, now I think you're going to put some pressure on them, because if you can make them a perimeter shooting team, because they're like the antithesis of Illinois. Like Illinois is a team that can't shoot, but they shoot anyway. Michigan State is a team that can't shoot, and what do you know? They don't shoot, right? They don't shoot threes. That's how you're supposed to do it, Brad Underwood. You guys are right. Time Izzo is doing it how you're supposed to do it. That's not your strength. Let's play to our strengths. Let's do some other things. Let's try to get out in transition. Let's try to get the ball inside some kind in different ways, right? Let's do those other things. Let's veer away from shooting these 3-point shots. If you can make them be a perimeter shooting team, right? If you can make them face our half-court defense, if you can mix in some zone, Michigan has gotten very seemingly proficient in mixing in some zone. I thought that did a great job of throwing Ohio State off. Oh, that would wreak some havoc on Michigan State. I think you can really disrupt this team tomorrow night, but you cannot turn the basketball over, fellas. You cannot turn the basketball over against this team. They got to have fewer than 12 turnovers in this game.
So teams that tried zone against Michigan State, and what they do is they do three things. One, they're just going to barrel into you, because Tom Izzo has worked perhaps better than anybody in the history of college basketball. That I've seen, right? I'm sure back in the UCLA days there was more, but he knows how to get the game called his way, and it's going to get called that way in Chrysler, and then in Breslin when we play the return game, it's going to be ridiculous. And Purdue completely fell victim to this. Nothing you can do about that. The other thing they're going to do is they have a lot of athletes who are going to dribble into that zone and take a 2-point shot. And then they're going to try to rebound it, because it's difficult to rebound when you're playing zone like that, when your back's to basket. And they have big guys who are going to barrel in there. And they have a lot of dudes who are not fantastic rebounders, but Jackson Kohler is just going to get in there, right? Simon Zapala is going to get in. I hate him. I don't hate him personally. He's probably just a fine guy. But as far as basketball players that I've watched this season across the Big Ten, this guy complains the most, elbows the most, and I know that we've got a floppy complaining center too. I'm not casting stones here, but oh my God, does he get in there and wrestle around and stick his foot underneath you when you're coming down, you dirty player, and you start realizing it, and you start giving up rebounds to those guys because you're watching your back or you're watching where your foot comes down. You're not watching the ball. And, that's just how Michigan State plays. They are a dirty, dirty team.
Hey,
They've
man.
taken over the mantle from Wisconsin.
Hey, no,
and that's how they play, man. That's what they are.
This is where Will Cheddar has to Will Cheddar it up.
Yeah.
Come on, hey man, you got to do your best, Bill Lambier, in this one, Will. Hey, let's go. Let's go full Jatim Young. Let's go full. Who was another goon? There was a goon that used to play for Indiana back. There's been some goons.
This conference is full. Yeah. You don't just have to be a goon though. I think at least at Chrysler, you can do some flopping. You definitely, Vlad Golden's done a little bit of that during this.
Yeah, we got Vlad.
Yeah. So I mean, the over under on the amount of times that Vlad is grabbing his nether regions in this game, it's got to be 2, right?
Well,
Yeah, come on, man. We can match that. We got a guy. We got a Probert.
But yeah, you heard that quote from Dusty May. I think it was last week or something after the Purdue game. Where he's like, these guys, they were trying to play physical in practice. And I was like, hey, turn it down a bit. And I got in arguments with them because I didn't realize how physical it's going to be in this league. And Purdue plays physical, but I think Purdue plays hard. Those guys, I mean, I see a difference between the way that Purdue plays, where they are just going to shove you out of the way because they're bigger than you, versus the way that Michigan State plays, which is the old Wisconsin tricks of the trade, if you will. And that's going to be rough. There's going to be a lot of grabs, going to be a lot of arms in the way. When you're coming off a screen, there's going to be a foot underneath you. That's what this league is like. And, Michigan was probably not playing that way earlier in the season. We're going to see how they're playing this way, because I think that if it comes to a shooting game, obviously Michigan State's not winning the shooting game. That's not what this is going to be. This is a rivalry game.
Hey, you see that quick elbow that Will threw? It was like it was a quick one. It was like they had to go to the replay. It was so fast they had to go to the replay to see it, and they had to see it in slow motion.
They called it. I disagree with Brian on this too, because Brian was like, it's not even above his shoulder. Like, it's your responsibility for your head to be there. I'm like, yes, but Cheddar knew his head was there. This is Will Cheddar we're talking about. All right, we're not angels here.
It was a rapid elbow. You ever heard a rapid punch? I never seen a rapid elbow before.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, Will, come on.
Yeah.
A rapid elbow on a rebound. And it was accurate too. I was like, man, he didn't even see him. And he still it was on a
1-and-1. He was shooting a 1-and-1, and the ball, it was a wedgie at the same time. Which, by the way, that rule needs to change.
Yeah, okay? I agree. That's the worst rule in basketball. That is
the worst rule in basketball is that they review only out of bounds if it's like a tip off. That's the worst rule.
That should not be a jump ball.
It should not be a jump ball if it's a wedgie. It should just be a miss and out of bounds. Yeah.
You don't get the advantage by shooting a brick.
Right, especially if you do it on a free throw.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, man. Listen, look, you gotta have a Lambier. Bill Lambier was a physical. I remember we argue about this all the time. Bill Lambier wasn't a dirty player; he was a physical player.
He was a dirty player, Sam.
He was a dirty player.
I was 9 to 10 years old when those teams were playing, and he was a dirty player.
Physical player.
Sam is going to die on this hill. He's totally wrong, but he's going to die on this hill.
He was a physical player. Seth.
He admits himself that he was a dirty player.
Physical player. Come on now, Seth. Come on.
Yeah, he and Mahorn were just ballerinas.
Yeah, Joe Dumars was a physical player.
Yeah.
So, but listen, you gotta have a guy on your squad that's willing to go toe to toe with the Robert Parishes of the world, right? He's got to be willing to go toe to toe with the guy on the other side over there that's giving it to your guys. With the Charles Oakleys of the world that's beating up on your dudes, with the Karl Malones of the world that's not going to just let them come in and have his way with your guys. So whether it's Carr or Kohler or whoever it is, that wants to come in the paint and throw their weight around like you're talking about, yeah, Will Cheddar is going to have to be on. He's going to have to cheddar it up in this game.
Well, the one thing the state does to account for this, they know they're going to get called, and they have a lot of centers. So Sapala is only going to be on the court, for 25 minutes because he averages 6 fouls a game, and this is a senior who played for Utah State for years and whatnot. Like he's been around and he knows how to work. Oh my God, does that guy complain every single play? That guy is turning into a ref and making some sort of whine. His coach actually whines less than he does, which is saying something there. But they're going to bring in Carson Cooper. They're going to have Jackson Kohler play center a bit. They're going to have Xavier Booker play a bit. So they have that factored into their system that they can play this way, because if they pick up fouls, they're just going to bring in another guy. And that's, when I made Michigan State the thing, I had to create it for 10 guys, because they do play 10 guys all the time. You can't leave Frankie Fiddler out. Can't leave Xavier Booker out. They're all part of the process. And that's part of the thing. They know they're going to get called, and they're planning on it. So
Timmy Mack wasn't an enforcer. I guess I never called Timmy Mack an enforcer. I thought he was
college.
I thought Timmy Mack was physical. We're gonna have to have this talk. So Timmy Mack, by the way, we're gonna do a special. We kind of move things around. We're gonna do a special live edition of the Michigan Basketball Insider tomorrow in the 9 o'clock hour to preview Michigan State. So we'll talk about that tomorrow with Timmy Mack. Tim says he's doing Pistons games now, and people come up to him during the broadcast calling him Timmy Mack. He said, Sam, he said, not until I was doing this show with you had I ever been called Timmy Mack. Now I'm doing Pistons broadcast at LCA, and people are running down the concourse talking about Timmy Mack. I said, hell yeah, Tim. That's because people are watching the show. Come on, man. You should be proud to be called Timmy Mack. He said, I am. Damn it, I am. So, fellas, listen. What about working the refs? I mean, the Izzo effect, you think it'll be in effect in Chrysler Arena?
Yes.
Yes.
It's in effect.
Have you seen a Michigan State game in your life, Sam? It's just I did
any respect in his own house. Number one in the Big Ten.
I did a little study that I haven't published because the findings aren't that sharp. But I was looking at who draws fouls, right? So I was looking at how many fouls get called on misses at the rim. So you can tell how many fouls a guy is going to draw based off of the percentage of shots at the rim. Okay, so a guy who shoots at the rim more often that are not dunks, that correlates almost 1-to-1 with the number of free throws you're going to shoot. So now you have a baseline of how many fouls a guy should get if he's not, quote, drawing contact or, able to get fouls. Now, this is a skill, right? And I was doing this to look at Bruce Thornton because Bruce Thornton is fantastic at this. He gets in the lane, he gets his chest out there, he draws contact, and then he makes his shot, all right? Which is a hard thing to do because you're damaging your own shot in order to get that contact. But you can also see trends in teams when I pull all this data out. And one of the main things you see is Michigan State gets the calls at home. Purdue and Michigan were at the bottom of getting calls. And, Purdue was actually in worse shape than us. So Boiler fans, if you're mad about the refs, Boiler fans, I want you to know this Michigan fan believes you.
So you think Dusty needs to have an out-of-body experience in this game?
I think that Chrysler Arena just does not do to officials what other arenas do. And Tom Izzo, they know him. He knows every single official. He knows what to expect going in and whatnot. And Dusty doesn't. Well, it's not about yelling at them, really. It's about knowing what their tendencies are.
Listen, you can pick your spots. Like Dusty is not a guy who I actually asked him about this. I want to say it was what game was it where they extended the game because they called Vlad for the flagrant he got the rebound and then
was that Northwestern?
The Northwestern game because Collins was going all crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I said, what the hell do you want him to do? Vlad got the rebound and he cleared the rebound. What the hell do you want him to do? He cleared the rebound and it was a 6-foot guy or a 6'4" guy next to him. I mean, that's not a freaking foul, ref. Chris Collins.
The way I understand it, so I don't think the refs in basketball, I don't think are Big Ten refs, right? They're like regional refs, right? So, but the way I understand the guys that we get most often is they all have their tendencies. They all have certain things that they're going to let run and not let run. And most of them, not all of them, are consistent throughout the game. And the way that you can change calls is if you are trying to draw things, they start getting mad at you. So when you start acting, when you start following, when you start like over representing what happened to you, then the next time there's something on the edge, it's going to go against you. That's just a general thing because I watch a lot of Big Ten basketball, especially now, like this year and last year that I'm doing all the previews. I don't think it's bias. I don't think it's like, they hate us or anything like that. I think it's you got to get to know these guys. And some guys have not been in the Big Ten as long as others. As you get to know them, as you understand what you can and can't get away with, as you converse with them, I think that's where their biases seep in. And I think that their biases are not with Golden because he's new to the conference. He has a certain way of playing, and that has not endeared him to get borderline calls like that. Now, Zapala is a very different he's also a transfer who's played in two different places, right? Should be in the same situation. But I think Zapala just wears them down. He berates them to such a degree that he is his own fan. And I think that that's why he gets calls. But he still gets a lot of crappy calls, especially on the road. He gets bad calls on him, too, because they hate him.
Oh, see, here's the thing. I think because Dusty doesn't do it all the time, I think if he were to have a moment or two in this game, I think it will have an effect, much like it had an effect on Vlad when he lit him up in the Purdue game. Like it had a tangible effect when he lit his behind up because it was. I'm giving Trey Kaufman-Renn his respect. Let me be clear. Like that dude is a beast. As far as his strength is concerned, like I don't know that he's this how much of a pro he is, but as a college player. Like, I'm tipping my cap. He's stronger than Vlad. So that he's able to push Vlad around in the post. Sometimes guys are going to be able to do that to you.
To be fair to Vlad gave it back to him late.
So I'm saying to Vlad that it doesn't make you weak that that Trey Kaufman-Renn can push you around in the post. He's pushing everybody around in the post at this point, right? Yeah. So fine. But it gets to a point where you got to give it back to him on the other end. And it's a game and a half now where you're not doing, he's getting beat and is getting punked. I've said this a lot of times now. I can take getting beat. I can't take getting punked. And I think that's the point that Dusty got to. I haven't had this conversation with him, but this is me watching from the stands. And it's like, man, I've never coached the game, but it's like, dude, you got 2 points and a rebound, and this dude is killing you. And it's affecting it. We can't get pumped. You got to give it back to him on the other end. And Dusty had to have said something like that. Yeah. In the huddle. He had to have said something like that. Like, damn it, you can't get punked, man. Come on. Because something flipped. And all of a sudden, Vlad goes beast mode. Now, did Trey Kaufman-Renn all of a sudden stop pushing Vlad around in the post? No. He kept doing his thing, but all of a sudden, now Vlad is giving it back to him on the other end. So at least it's balancing out, right? And so Dusty has an effect by getting after him, right? He wakes him up. And I wonder if he could do the same thing to the refs. He doesn't do all that. He doesn't do all that yelling and screaming at the refs. But if Izzo is doing his Izzo thing and having the effect,
you gotta be yourself. No. I never advocate because I think Dusty is going to establish a rapport. Once he gets to know these guys, they're going to understand who he is. They're going to understand, and they've had interviews with basketball refs before who say like, okay, this coach is like this coach is like this, and like the guys that they respect the most are the ones who will talk to them and listen to them and understand. They'll come and say, why'd you call that? What are you doing there? And they'll say, here's my explanation, and they'll listen to your explanation. Now, over time, you understand which refs work certain ways, what you can get away with, what you can't, and whatnot. Izzo's system is Izzo's system. Izzo is 100% sure that he is right and everybody else is wrong and screwing him all the time. And
Yeah,
that's why he's so good at it. He's
you can't let a ref
because
come
he
in here.
believes it.
Well, but if it's like you can't let a ref come in here and absolutely screw you. You can't. I mean, you can't.
No, you can't. No, yeah, but you're going to see.
Let a ref come in here. You can't let a ref come in here and Trey Kaufman ren you. Right?
Have you seen? But have you seen Dusty May blow up at an official yet?
No. But I hadn't seen him blow up at a player either, and he did it, and it made a difference. And it made a difference. I mean, I'm just saying there are times where you reach a boiling. Even a Dusty May can reach a boiling point if it becomes an issue where it's affecting the game to that degree.
Yeah,
I'm hoping it doesn't get to that point.
No. Let's look forward. So the Michigan State Trey Kaufman-Renn is a different animal than Simon Zapala. All right, Trey Kaufman-Renn earned his ability to play physical by getting that strong, getting in position, and playing harder. That is a basketball player who makes basketball moves, and he's physical because he's strong. Simon Zapala is a whiny little things I can't say on the radio, and knows all the little tricks. So when you're going up, he has like a little foot slide off the back of your Achilles tendon. Like that's the kind of thing, and maybe that is where Dusty, if that's happening in Chrysler, Dusty should get on him because that's not the kind of thing that fans notice. I see that stuff when I'm watching the tape.
I don't think Dusty is going to get into it with refs. We haven't even seen him talk to refs during games, except asking how many timeouts do I have left or something like that. So that ain't happening. It's going to be the crowd. And it's got to be the Michigan crowd, and they've got to be and I think this isn't the Michigan crowd of the Frieder days. And I talked to Frieder about this. I said what he should do is have tryouts for who's around the court. And you need people with scars, hooks, eye patches, scary looking guys sitting around the court who will scream the whole game, because that's what it's going to take to even it up. And Chrysler back then was purely the wine and brie crowd. Well, Chrysler has changed a bit. I think the students are better than they have been. And for my part, my seats are going to the two loudest, most obnoxious fans in the history of basketball. I found them. One of them, Bobby Knight, tried to have banned and called the worst fan in the United States. My brother, his crew, and the other is my law partner, who is ordinarily an urbane guy, went to Yale, but get him on a basketball court and he's a legitimate lunatic. And they're sitting down there close, and they're going to get people around them stirred up. They'll out Izzo, and we just need about a couple hundred more people like that Friday night. And Dusty won't have to do anything with the refs if the fans are on them. And
I'll make one point, and then let's let Sam get to a break. We should have Children of Yost night, where just to bring back the old Children of Yost from 2000. If you could show that you had season tickets in anywhere from 1999 to 2002, then you get a spot up front, one game, right? And then and we'll see what we could do, because that was the apex.
I agree with you. The water buffalo guy, and
I want you guys to ponder when we get to the break. I mean, Michigan's toughest matchup for teams to deal with has been, they're two bigs. Whether it's obviously too big, pick and roll.
Mm-hmm.
But man, as you see teams really struggle with Danny and his drives to the rim, he's been lethal. Now he's driving to the rim, and he's able to pass it to Vlad, and Vlad has been hitting these little 15-footers of late with regularity. And you wonder how Michigan State, how that lineup, that particular matchup, how Michigan State is going to do against that. I want you guys to ponder that. How is Michigan State going to do against the too big matchup? Is that going to be a big factor in this game? It wasn't as big a factor against Purdue as I thought it was going to be. Is it going to be more of a factor in this game? Do you guys think? We'll get into that on the other side. I know you want to talk a little Michigan baseball as well, Craig, so we'll do that on the other side here on the Michigan Insider on the Big 1050 WTKA, online at the big1050.com.
Clear on the radio.
I'm glad you actually said that about that Sapala guy. He's the most irritating player I can recall in a long time.
I've just been watching every basketball game in the Big Ten this year, and like, boy, does he stand out. I'm sure, I watched a couple of these games with my brother, who's a Spartan, and as far as he's concerned, he loves the guy, right? He's a huge picker for them. He's 7'1", he's 245, and he's going to shove guys out of there. So that's what they've needed for a long time. That's
fair.
coaching some soft centers for a while now, right?
Right.
And
like you're not
so
going to win with a guy like Booker down in the paint, who is not that kind of center. But by the way, did you notice, Sam, that Michigan seems to be maybe leading for a 7-1 guy from Serbia?
Yeah, I knew that's visiting. I can't say his last name. I just called him Alexis.
I can't either. I was going to try and learn it.
Man.
Well, I looked at a little bit of his tape. He's actually very light-footed, and this is a big, strong guy with light feet. Now, you can't highlight tapes, aren't enough for this, but I have a hunch he'll be a very nice player. He's certainly more agile on his feet than, say, Vlad.
Alexa I can't say his last name,
yeah.
man. My Russian is bad.
Yeah.
How's it spelled?
Oh, you're gonna. Okay,
but is he here this weekend? Do you know?
He's visiting for the Michigan State game.
Oh, that's perfect. He because
Dimitrichevich, I think is how you say his name.
That's good. I think that's very close.
Yeah, it looks very good. Yeah, Dimitrichevich.
And so he's the guy I want right now.
After that.
Yeah, it's a patronym
Where
name.
else is he
Son of
going?
Dimitri.
Did I actually say that right? That was a complete shot in the dark.
I think you did. It's Dimitri is the patronym, and then Jevic is the son means son of. Yeah.
He's
You gotta be shit. I mean,
you can say we're not on the radio right now. You can do that. Yeah.
We'll be back on the radio in about a minute.
I think Creighton is pushing on him really hard. I don't know who else is.
He's taking a visit to Creighton. He's taking a visit to Illinois.
Yeah,
as
Illinois
well. We have a story on him on the site.
But
do they not introduce people to Brad Underwood when they visit Illinois? Is that how they do it? Because I don't know how anyone would meet that guy and be like, you know what? I want to spend a couple of years playing for this dude.
It ain't gonna be it.
They are the most, and they just don't make sense. I don't understand them.
Back in 20, guys.
They should be better than they are.
They shoot. Why they shoot as many threes as they do is the most perplexing thing in the Big Ten to me. They shoot a ton of threes and they just don't make them.
And they
back in 10 seconds, guys. Stand by.
They're like going, it's. So I don't know.
And we are back on radio in 5, 4, 3.
And we are back, folks, here on the Michigan Insider on the Big 1050 WTKA, online at the big1050.com. Sam Webb, Mr. Ira Weintraub on the other side. Of course, our MGoBlog Roundtable brothers of Seth Fisher and Brian Cook. Now, Brian Cook is out. Seth Fisher and Craig Ross with us. Before we get back to talking to the Roundtable crew, I want to tell those of you who are on the market for a new vehicle, you should get on board with Brighton Ford. We're going to BrightonFord.com. Call 1-800-NEW-FORD and make it out to the lot at 8240 West Grand River Avenue in Brighton, Michigan. When you do, John Cuter and the crew will take great care of you. Deals can't be beaten. Deals like the one on the 2024 Ford Bronco Sport Big Bend. 4-door, $279 a month, $3,500 down, or $422 a month with $500 down. Or how about the 2024 Bronco Sport Big Bend, $220 a month with $3,500 down, and $306 a month with $500 down. And last but not least, the 2024 Ford F-150 XLT, $232 a month, $3,500 down, and $425 a month with $500 down. For those and other great deals, get on board with Brighton Ford. We're going to BrightonFord.com. Call 1-800-NEW-4 to make it out to the lot at 8240 West Granville Avenue in Brighton, Michigan. So let me get my distance calibrated. Mark Dotson said 15 feet, 15 footers. No, 10 footers. Damn it, 10 footers he's been hitting. All right, so not 15 feet.
What are you, Tiger in the TGL getting the wrong distance?
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's 5 feet off. He was hitting short jumpers, damn it, that he's been hitting as he kicks it back to him. But you get my point. He's been
sometimes he dunks those too, because once he's within like 4 feet, he just swoops in there.
Listen, it's been a great matchup advantage for them in basically every game except for Purdue. Yeah. Will it be a great matchup, the two big dynamic against Michigan State, you guys think? What do you guys think about that?
So not against Zapala, but against the other guys. There are other centers. Jackson Kohler, they've been moving to power forward. The big question is, how's he going to keep up with Wolf, because he's a little bit slow. He likes to, he's one of those guys who likes to cheat and grab and whatnot, and that's because he's kind of slow and gumpy. He'll be able to keep up with Cheddar, but I don't think he'll be able to keep up with Wolf. So I'm guessing that we're going to be initiating with Wolf against Kohler. The other centers that they have are Xavier Booker, who's not very tall, but he's 6'10". I think he's listed 6'11", but he's a switchable guy. He's a defensive guy. When he's in there, he's just tough. He's just be able to switch with everybody. And the other guy is Carson Cooper, who is the softie that they replaced with Zapala. And you're going to get, about 15 minutes of Carson Cooper, where you can, he's going to get some rebounds, and he's got that size. But the thing is, these guys are not so much smaller that you're going to see Vlad being able to dunk over them. And what Michigan's really benefited from is, I don't think that the Big Ten has very many bigs who can play with them, right? You go down the list of guys they played. They were playing Sean Stewart, who's small and leapy for Ohio State. Caleb First was able to kind of muscle in there with them, but he's still not that big. Umar Ballo for Indiana was in foul trouble, but he's just like a lug. Nate Biddle from Oregon, he gave him some hard time, but he was a 5-out guy, right? Lathan Somerville from Rutgers, not very big. Who's that Penn State guy, Nierhauser? Matt Nicholson for Northwestern was probably the best they faced. And Dawson Garcia. I can go through and name more guys, but when you go down the list, when the Big Ten has a big guy, he's not that athletic. There has not been a really super rim protector that they've had to go against. And when they do, they've kind of struggled, or they've had to find different ways to attack it. I think one of the people in the chat just mentioned the guy from Washington, Great Osborne, who's 6'8". So the Big Ten has been a great place to use that two big system, because if you have one guy who can get in the way of Golden or Wolf, you don't have two guys. Michigan State is going to have two guys out there who are 6'9" or above at all times. Now, they're not the most athletic dudes. Zapala, I think, is going to be the bigger problem. I think that the other guys, they can kind of shove out of the way, and it's just going to be a lot of fouls, right? I imagine that they're going to get 2-3 centers with 4 fouls, and that's how Michigan State's going to stop them. And then, hit your free throws, and you can make that work for you.
I tend to agree with this, especially the latter comments. I think Izzo will want them in a shoving, pushing match right from the get-go. He'll be jumping up and down, demanding the fouls be equally allocated. And the problem there will be that hurts Michigan. And so they can't get into that. They've got to sort of stray away from that. I don't see it as a huge edge. The two bigs is a huge edge in this game. To me, where I see the edge is Michigan's ability to shoot the ball and shoot it from distance. But this means that they cannot turn it over. They can't have Danny Wolf dribbling it all around, because it's going to get stolen. They can't have Trey getting blitzed and picked. And I think your original comment was right, Sam. They have to keep the turnovers to a reasonable level, particularly the live ball turnovers, the runouts. They can't have many of those. And if so, and I think Michigan can deal with Michigan State defensively because they do not shoot the ball great, as in most games, and Michigan will have a reasonable chance. But Michigan State's a formidable team.
Yeah, they haven't had a loss this
is a
season.
formidable team.
They haven't had a loss this season where a team has turned it over more than 11 times.
Mhm.
So,
Yes.
thus my number, magic number, guys, you got to keep the turnovers under 12.
Yeah.
Under 12 in this game. Craig, I know you wanted to say.
I just wanted to talk a bit about baseball. This is very exciting for me. I've watched Michigan baseball forever. And usually, it's Northern baseball. No one takes it seriously. Well, Michigan went down. I'm not sure. Were they in Texas? I don't know where they were, but down south. And I saw a couple of the games on TV. And they beat Virginia in the opener, who's number 2 in the country. And then they came back, and Rice always has an excellent baseball team, and they beat them 5-2. Villanova had shown some success, and they beat them 19-0. And then they beat a really good Stetson baseball team. I think that was 7-1. The team is hitting 319, opponents 193. They got 7 home runs to 1. They had 6 or 7 guys who pitched well, 5 in particular. And last year they had really almost no pitching except for Kurt Barr, who pitched well. A guy who did not pitch great last year, but pitched very well so far this year, Dylan Vignew. I got David Lally, who's a transfer, pitched well. Gavin DeVoot pitched well. May have one All-American, Mitch Voigt. He's a legitimate All-American, hit 471. He's knocking the ball all over the place. And Jonathan Kim, their usual leadoff guy, batted 500. I think he was 9 for 18 on the weekend. So I'm stunned. I'm stunned, particularly by the level of pitching. 1.42 ERA, more strikeouts than innings pitched. Very limited walks. I'm just like, I'm watching it and I can't believe how good the baseball was. We'll see this weekend. They play TCU, who's a really good team, top 20 team in the country. I think they have another top Arkansas, maybe, who's number 5, I think. Yeah. So we'll see how they compete against those teams. But looks like a really, really promising team.
Yeah.
And who knows? Maybe we'll even get some weather so people can go out and see
it was a great first week. It was a great first week. So let's see what they do for an encore. Let's see what they do. Absolutely. All right. We'll follow it up next week. As always, folks, we appreciate you. We'll talk to you tomorrow here on the Michigan